day 10. Okay, we're gonna solve question number 1732. Find the highest altitude. Okay, and you haven't watched yesterday video day 9. So basically you can go and check out Upper I button link is there. And day 9 video we can solve richest customer wealth, which is basically question number 1672. So today we're gonna solve question number 1732. Find the highest altitude. So this question is also based on array. Okay. So in this question we have to use some logical thinking, and you have to think deeper for understanding what type of logic is used in this question. So first I'll explain question, then we move to the code part. Okay. So I like just masking into the okay. So there is a biker going on a road trip. Okay, a biker is going on a road trip. The road trip consists of n plus one. Okay, n plus one points. It's basically points places at the different altitudes. Okay, each and every places are at different altitudes. Okay, one at 1,000, one at 15,000 or 500 or zero like sea level. The bikers start the trip from on point zero with altitude equals to zero. Okay, we have given two conditions. Biker starting from zero index and its altitude is also zero. You are given an integer array gain. Okay, we have given an array name in gain, and the array contains integer length of n. Okay, the array's length is n, and traveler visits n plus 1 trips, like points. Okay, you have to mention these points. Okay, you have to mention these little things. Then where gain I is the net gain altitude. Okay, here is a twist. You can see that question tries to play with us. Firstly they given us n plus 1 points at a different altitudes. Okay, it's point, but the array is given of gain, and it's basically try to saying that difference between altitudes are stored in the array. Okay, difference between altitudes, not directly altitudes value. Okay, like direct altitude value you can use comparison and directly print what is the highest, but yet it this is only gain like gain in altitudes. Okay, not directly they given us to the altitude. So between points I and I plus 1. Okay, yeah, what the mention trying to saying is the point I and I plus 1, the difference is stored in the I. Okay, the difference between I point and I plus 1 is stored in gain I. Okay, I hope you got clear what is. We see example one, then you can clear more about this question. So input is gain. Okay, gain array minus 5. So it's basically uh, here are n. Okay, n means how much? This is 5. So the our points are visited is 6. Okay, minus 5 means first is 0, then second is minus 5, like it's going below the sea level, like it's visited minus 5 altitude. Okay, afterward it's 1, the gain is 1, so it's basically move to the minus 4. Okay, after that 5 means minus 4 to plus 1. Okay, and 0 means again plus 1 to 1, then minus 7 gain means it's going to be all down, so it's minus 6, and the altitudes area are like this. So here the highest altitude is 1. Okay, else are 0 and minus, so the highest altitude is 1. Okay, so I hope you got clear what is actually question is trying to say. It's given as a gain array, not altitudes array. From gain array we have to find altitudes and then return highest altitude. Okay, so now we move to the code part. So now we start with our code part. In code part you have to notice some key points. Okay, firstly you have to see conditions like minus 100 gain, like gain I is greater than minus 100 or equal to minus 100 and less than or equal to 100. Okay, and the length of the array is greater or equal to 1 or less than or equal to 100. Okay, and you can take gain dot length is equal to n. Okay, like it's basically in previous questions we learned why we use this. So firstly we have to take a max altitude variable for storing max altitude, then we have to take one another variable for storing current altitude. Okay, because we have multiple, so each and every we find altitude, then store this altitude in our like current altitude, and if this is greater than max altitude we can compare it, and if greater then we can replace max altitude with current altitude, and then again we iterate with loop. Okay, so you can see we have to use one for loop, two variables, okay, and one if else condition to compare between this max altitude and current altitude. So I'll start with the let we start with max altitude. Okay, altitude. Okay, first max altitude is always zero, because you're starting from zero. If every like every gain is minus, so your altitude is also in minus, so the max altitude also remains zero. And current, okay, we also take this as zero, current altitude, because starting is zero, clearly they mentions. Okay, then we have to take one for loop. For loop for what? For iterating each and every indexes of gain. Okay, so let I is equal to 0, I is less than, now less than from what? Gain dot length. Okay, plus plus. Okay, now we have an array of gain, we have for loop which is iterating from each and every indexes of array. So now what we want? Now we want current. Okay, current altitude plus equal to gain of I. Now what this would, if current altitude, it's basically mean that starting from 0, if like this is minus 5, so 0 plus minus 5 is basically minus 5, so second is minus 5, then again 1 comes, so minus 5 plus 1, it's basically stored like minus 4, and you have to learn global variable, global scope, and the like what we trying to say is, if this variable is declared inside the for loop, which basically remove its value from again when we start for like one iteration complete, its value again come back to zero. That's why we declare this is globally. Okay, globally means this is entire the value which updated. It's same for the entire our code. Okay, like if current alt value is 0 starting, then you have modified in code it's equal to 5, then 5 will be remain for every places next to the line which you modified. Okay, if in line number 10 you modified current as equal to 5, okay, and after that you using current as value, so it's provide you 5 value. Okay, because it's run one by one, line by line. Okay, interpreter like interpreter means run line by line and compile like. Okay, so we move to this part further. Currently we have to focus on our this code. So we are comparing current alt and adding it with the gain of I. So now comparison is max or like max alt is greater than, or okay, okay, my mistake, current alt is greater than max alt. Okay, like with comparing as we talk. So then what we have to do, max alt equal to current alt. Okay, if the our current alt is greater than max alt, replace max alt with current alt. Okay, so like we use a return max alt. Now I'll adjust my screen to the left of the screen. Okay, we run test cases. Okay, basically given test cases like to our example of are there in test cases. So you can see that these test cases are accepted. So okay, firstly I will move to again what we write in code over. So one variable let max alt, the starting altitude is 0, so let max alt is equal to 0. We are assuming that max alt is 0. Okay, like current alt is also 0, starting 0 index, they given that 3.0 with the altitude equals to 0. Our starting altitude is 0, so the and starting from the 0 point, so the both are 0. Question is given, so we starting both as 0. Then one for loop for let I is equal to 0, to I is less than gain dot length. Okay, and they like simply you can say starting from the zeroth index to the gain to the nth index of the gain and I plus plus then the current altitude plus gain of I. Each and every value of gain I will adding to the our current altitude value. Okay, and if current altitude is like become greater than maximum altitude, we replace maximum altitude equal to current altitude. Okay, so now we check it with further lead code test cases. So like it has around how much test cases are there? Okay, 80 test cases are 80 to 80 test cases are passed. Okay, and runtime is 0 ms. So I hope you got clear what we'll do in this question, how the logic is for this question. So now we'll discuss about what is time complexity of this code and what is space complexity of this code. So basically, time complexity depends upon for loop and list and iteration. Okay, so we use one for loop. Okay, for 0 to n index. Okay, so basically we entering from 0th index to the nth index of the array. So we going from one each and every index is so it's order of n. Okay, and if we have another for loop inside this for loop, it's become order of n square because we using nested for loop, one for loop inside another for loop. Okay, and if using if condition inside another if condition, which is depends upon if outer if condition works, then check inside if condition. So it's called nested if else conditions. Okay, then space complexity for this is obviously order of one because we have no taken an entire array, we just taking two variable. Okay, so it's not if there are like order of n becomes when we have taken another array or it's become like we have taken half array or like that, so it become order of log n. Okay, but currently we have order of one. So this is our question, find the highest altitude. So I hope you got clear what is the question, how we can use logic and then code part. Okay, and if you find any doubt, ask me in comments, I'll reply. Okay, then we move to the next question, which question we gonna solve tomorrow. Okay, we tomorrow gonna solve question number 1512. It's basically number of good pairs. Okay, this question is again based on array. Okay, first we mastering the array. Once we clear what is array, how we can use, what should be inbuilt function, and what are the each and every functions and logics. So then we move to the string and next topics. Okay, first we compare array is simple topic and it's easy to understand. So we starting from array and like moving in arrays question. Once you can clear, I'll start with string and then list and vector. Okay, so this is number of good pairs given an array of integers. Okay, we have given an integers array of nums. The number of good pairs. Okay, we have to return a good pairs number. A pair of ij is called the good if nums of I is equal to nums of j and I is less than j. Okay, is basically trying to say like they want us to compare in between an array. Okay, like a pair of ij, it's I and j are both in the our array element, but the twist is I is less than j. It's basically trying to saying is like the j is the index after the I coming. Okay, like if you take zero index of I, so you have to take like a sorry I'm like if you take I is a second index of array, then you can't take j is a zero index one index. Okay, you have to take greater than two index like third index fourth index after that index. So and is both are like nums of I and nums of j is equal to like both are one equal. So here you can see an example for that. Okay, simple you have to check like is the index of I, like we have to take a nested array like nested for loop. If this like is equal to the any of the array, you have to return that pair. Okay, after that you have to move to the next and if is equal to, so again you have to run this kind of conditions and explanations are also given, and this you have to read these conditions carefully and you can try to solve this question. And again, if you could solve this question, just post it on Twitter and LinkedIn and mention me. Okay, and if you not started yet DSA with the series, okay, uh, so I'll mention the link in I button and also at the last of the video. You can start from the first video, so it will basically help you to the improve your DSA, and also you can crack more higher interviews and packages. Okay, thanks for watching this series. Meet on day 11. Okay.